This video is for any music student that really wants to sing or play their instrument with more freedom and flow and confidence in themselves, connection to the music. This is for any music student who really wants to connect more to the magic that's available each and every single time they practice and especially perform. So many times it's scary to let go and just play because there's this voice inside or this feeling that says something like, if I don't concentrate extra hard and really focus on every single note and every single detail that I'm supposed to get, I'm gonna screw up. I'm gonna miss notes. I'm gonna lose my spot. I am not gonna get all the details that the teacher wants to hear, the judges wanna hear. I won't do as well as my friend next to me in my instrument section is doing, or my fellow classmate who plays the piano just like I do, or the singer standing next to me in rehearsal. That feeling of comparison, either to others or to our perception of what we think others are wanting or expecting of us, causes a lot of fear and discomfort. And the worst of all is it can bring about a kind of mistrust in ourselves. So I want to talk to you about something that I think is the answer for all of that, the antidote. It's a made-up term. I call it sing-along surrender. And the best way I can think of to explain it is imagining that you are in a convertible with the top down, driving down Highway 1 in California, the sun on your face, the wind in your hair, and you are singing along at the top of your lungs to your favorite song on the stereo. That kind of unself-conscious flow, that passion in music coming out of you without you keeping track of a million details, without you worrying about every step of the way, that's sing-along surrender. And as the name implies, with the word surrender in there, it can be kind of scary until you get the hang of it. Now, the opposite of sing-along surrender, in my mind, is what I call busy brain. And that is where you are trying to keep track of every single detail and every single piece of advice that a teacher has ever given you, and everything you think you're supposed to do, and everything that you got to make sure that you do right or better than the person next to you. That kind of busy brain really blocks the music. Now, an example I give my students sometimes is sort of funny. What if you were singing Mary Had a Little Lamb and you had busy brain and you were worried about every single syllable and you were trying to be perfect and you sounded something like Mary had a little lamb. That's just terrible. It's just terrible. And it's so segmented and awkward, and there's no room for flow or magic. No matter what instrument you play, if you play your music or sing your music like I just sang Mary Had a Little Lamb, you're not playing as well as you could, and you certainly aren't creating magic or a magical atmosphere for yourself and those who are listening. Now, as I mentioned, letting go and playing or singing with sing-along surrender is desirable, but can be scary. So I just want to tell you my simple formula for how to achieve sing-along surrender and be able to trust myself to play the right notes, to feel the rhythms and stay in time, stay in tune, play with polish and style, and all the things that are very important for a musician who has high standards. I'm still able to do that and totally trust while letting go at the same time. So here's my simple formula. Whatever section of music I have decided to practice, it might be a phrase, It might be from one rehearsal letter to the next. It might be an entire movement. If it's a very challenging piece, it might just be one measure at a very slow tempo. Whatever section of music you've decided that you're going to practice right now, I would put it on a loop. Now, the way I think of loops is kind of like that potter's wheel that's constantly spinning. You know, it makes it so easy to sculpt the clay into something beautiful as long as it's moving. But if that potter's wheel was stopped, it was not in motion, then, you know, sculpting that vase would be very awkward, lumpy. It would take a lot longer. So you want to keep the potter's wheel in motion while you put your section of music on a loop. Now, I will say, stay at comfortable tempos. So I always start half tempo or less. Definitely play at tempos that are honest, like with the metronome or subdivisions, and that are in your comfort zone. Now you are going to end up pushing yourself as you go, but play clearly and honestly with rhythmic integrity and quality sound. Sing with your best tone at comfortable tempos. You don't want to be flailing while you're on a loop, because then you're programming in the flailing, right? So you put it on a loop, or I call it sometimes an infinity repeat. And whatever you would like to change about that passage, you're going to let it happen organically as you continue the repeating process. Now, the busy brain version of practicing often will include things like, oh, I screwed up, I gotta fix this, I have to make it right. And then even if you do repetitions, it's not in the character or the style or the flow of the music that you would eventually want to have in the final performance where there's magic. I want you to program in the magic during the loops. So for instance, if I have a passage that's got tons of 16th notes, I'll play it at that comfortable tempo. If it's too challenging, even at a slow tempo, I'll break it up into manageable bite-sized puzzle pieces, but still with flow, still with magic. And whatever I need to change, whatever I want to change, I'll incorporate it over the course of many repetitions. So for instance, if I play that phrase or that section that's got all the 16th notes in it and it's not even, I'll keep it on a loop and I'll be letting go, I'll be as free as I can, I'll be inviting flow in, I'll be letting my breath come in and out naturally, not hyper focus, not intense concentration, nothing like that, but just allowing the changes to come in a very natural, easy way, because I know that I've got unlimited tries. Now, if you say, I only get 3 chances for this, well, then you've got time scarcity and it's not going to be natural or flowing or full of momentum or magic, right? So you got to pretend like you've got 10,000 years. I call that Morla momentum because that's the ancient turtle from the never-ending story, and she is in no hurry to go anywhere. So pretend like you have 10,000 years to do your loops. And if you're playing the 16th notes, or I'll go back to my example, if I'm playing the 16th notes and they're uneven, I'll stay with my comfortable, easy loops, but maybe I'll swing them on the next loop, then reverse swing them on the one after that. Then when I repeat it again, I'll change up the rhythms. Many musicians have tried and true methods, practice games that they love or that their teacher has taught them. You can use any practice game in the world, but stay on the repetitive loop without being in a hurry and without being judgy. So you're just open, you're flowing, you're repeating. You maybe only make tiny little micro progress moments as you go, but over the course of 10, 20, 30, 40 times, you are gonna be able to completely transform this passage. And then once you love how it sounds, so the 16th notes are even, it's your best sound because with each repeating loop, you've been breathing a little bit better, listening a little bit better, adding in, if you're a wind player, adding in some embouchure things. If you're a pianist or a singer, getting more in touch with your body. Actually, all of us should be getting more in touch with our body all the time on every loop, no matter what you play or sing. As you continuously evolve and you're keeping flow and momentum and magic at the heart of what you're doing, not freaking out, not the stories you're telling yourself about all the things that are going to happen if it's not right, just magic. Caring about the music becoming more beautiful to you and your audience. It may not start out that way. It may start out pretty darn rough. But as you invite more beauty in, more clarity in, you allow yourself to remember advice given to you from teachers. You might take breaks as you go and review your practice notes, your lesson notes. You might watch inspiring YouTube videos. You can do anything you want and bring it into the mix. But keep returning to your loops, because repetition, especially high quality, beautiful, magical repetition, is the way that you're going to become bulletproof and able to trust yourself when you're under pressure and you're performing for an audience. So for those of you that are scared to let go of your busy brain, and the idea of sing-along surrender sounds kind of nice, but you're not brave enough to take that leap of faith yet. I do have a book coming out. It's an etude book for flute players, but the advice given throughout the book about your relationship with your metronome, your relationship with your tuner, your relationship with time and meaningful practice applies to everybody. That book is called The Aspiring Flutist Sing-Along Surrender Book, and it's published by Carolyn Nussbaum Music Company. So if you're curious about it, you want to take the leap into sing-along surrender, but you don't know how, that book really spells it out. You can also email me at any time at tersanc@bgsu.edu. I'm the flute professor at Bowling Green State University. But I highly recommend that either right now, today, you take the leap of faith and say, I'm not going to suffer anymore. I'm not going to criticize myself anymore. I'm not going to freak out anymore. I'm not going to just give myself a headache from trying to concentrate so much all the time and keep track of every single little detail. I'm going to add my accents in as I go during my meaningful loops. I'm going to increase my dynamic range as I do my beautiful, easy, flowing loops. I'm going to get more in touch with my body. I'm going to get more in touch with listening. I'm going to let myself repeat this passage, this section of music, as many times as it takes. I'm going to pretend like I have 10,000 years, and I'm going to invite beauty and clarity in without stressing myself out. You're going to prepare yourself to just give one of the most beautiful performances you've ever had, and then the next and the next and the next will get more and more and more beautiful, because you'll learn to trust yourself more and more every time you sing along surrender. Last thing I'm going to say, for those of you that may still be skeptical, is that busy brain inherently comes with tension and stress. And when you are doing your repetitions, you are thickening that myelin sheath around your neurons, your neural connections, and you're not just programming in finger transitions or note reading or all the details. You're not just programming those in. You're also programming in the mental and emotional state you were in when you did the repetitions. So if you want magic in your performance, you gotta have magic in your practice. And the way to do that is through unlimited repetitions and sing-along surrender.